Okay, welcome to part 2 of this video on how to use leg cues. Actually, the first part was how and why we use leg cues. So if you didn't watch that, I hope you'll go back and watch it. And I showed you how they should work and why we use them. Now, on this video, I'm going to show you how to teach this to your horse if your horse does not know what these cues mean. And I'm going to use Silver. He's a 4-year-old Mustang. He has about 6-7 months training. And he's not going to do this perfectly. He's not that far along in his training. And especially in the beginning, he really had a hard time with some of this. But I'll show you how to teach this. So I start off really before I ever even saddle a horse, when I'm still in the lunging, teaching the horse to lunge. And to teach them to move their hindquarters, then I will look at their hindquarters with my head, with my body, toward them. And if they don't move, then I'll tap them with the stick, like this. Just real gently, like that, until they move their hindquarters. And he does that pretty well. He's not too upset about that. But I can promise you, in the beginning, he did not. And by the way, I have a whole series of videos of training this horse. If you'd like to go back and watch them, you can see all of that from the beginning. And then to move the forequarters, which is a lot harder for a horse to move their shoulders than it is to move their hindquarters, just for a variety of reasons. So the first time I do that, sometimes I'll even bring them up to a fence if I think they're going to push forward. In fact, let me do that. Let's just bring him over here and I'll put his nose on the fence here so that they can't walk forward. And I'll get him set up here with just a little bit of an angle this way. All right. And then I'll take my stick and I'll tap him here in leg position 1, which you saw that on the first video, and then ask him to move his shoulder, which he didn't. Instead, he moved his hip. There we go. Then he moved it. So he's getting where he does it halfway okay now. But I can tell you, in the beginning, the first time I did that, he just jumped about 3 feet the other direction and ran away. Okay, and your horse may do the same thing. They do not understand it, and especially as a Mustang, he kind of takes it as a threat. I had another Mustang who actually pawed me up the side of the head when I was trying to teach this, because he saw it as me challenging him to a fight. So that's leg position 1, and it may take a while to get that. I've had horses that took, sometimes several weeks. And so if you do it the first time and your horse just does that right there, great. Stop and let him have a break. Don't get in a big hurry about teaching this shoulder movement, because it is kind of scary to a lot of horses in the beginning. Okay, and then side pass. Teaching a side pass is putting those two together. So when I start teaching the side pass, and Silver's not very good at it, but he should be able to do it, I bring their nose up to the fence like this, and I move his hindquarters, and then I move his forequarters. And then, see, his ears go back. He does not like this. Hindquarters, and then forequarters. Okay? And this horse, he might spin around and kick me. So be careful with this. He doesn't like it very well. Forequarters. Okay, hindquarters, and then you just put it together and you ask them to move both at the same time. Okay, there, and I got it. So you can see that's not very good. He does not like this from the ground at all, and I think it's because he's a Mustang. He considers something on the ground as a kind of a threat, so he actually does it better under saddle than he does from the ground. But that's how you start, by teaching that on the ground, those 3 things. Move your shoulders, move your hips, and then move your rib cage. So now I'm going to, one more thing I'll show you before I get on. And then I will graduate eventually to using the stirrups to do that. So I'll take my stirrup here, put it back where my foot will go, right there, and move his hindquarter with the stirrup. So that simulates my leg when I'm riding him. He doesn't like this, as you can see. He's never liked it. I do it anyway because he needs to know it, but it just bothers him a lot. And that's not, that's not anything bad about him. We all have our issues, and certain things bother us for reasons unknown, but he still needs to learn it. And then the same way here, I put it up here, leg position 1, ask him to move his shoulder. He can kind of go along with that one a little better. And see, he's stepping over in front, which is what I want. And then sideways. You go sideways. That's a little harder to get. I may not get that without putting him up against the fence. All right, let's put him against the fence and ask him to move over. Don't you kick me, buddy. He thought about it. So I'm watching him. Come on. All right. So the fact that he thought about kicking me there tells me, and he's not going to do this very well. There, got it, okay. And that's why I used silver, because I knew he wasn't going to do it very well. He's actually better on the under saddle. For some reason, he doesn't consider me a threat when I'm on his back. And so your horse probably won't be that bad. But you get the idea. And I can use the stick. He's a little better with the stick than he is with the stirrups. And it's also a little safer for me because I don't have to get as close to him. All right, now let me get on him and show you how we translate that to the horse understanding it under saddle. So, and you can go back and watch this horse. The very first day I brought this horse in this round pen, the first thing I taught him, first lesson, cluck means go. And we got a duster coming here. If you've never seen a duster, you just saw one. Woo! Welcome to the desert. Let me see if it's going to pass. The first day I brought this horse in this round pen, and I taught him cluck means go. If your horse knows that, then you'll be able to teach him squeeze, cluck, spank. So first ride, and if you'll watch the video where I did the first ride with this horse, that's what I did. Squeeze, and now he knows squeeze means go. And you also probably can see he dropped his head. He's a lot more comfortable with me riding him than he is with the groundwork. That's just him. Not all horses are that way. Most of them aren't actually, but he is. If he doesn't go, if you squeeze your horse and your horse doesn't go, then cluck and do it in rhythm. Squeeze, cluck, spank in rhythm. Squeeze, cluck, spank. Because I taught him from the ground, point, cluck, spank. Point, cluck, spank. So if you'll do that, then your horse understands, and that's how you get them to go off of the squeeze. So I squeeze him to go forward. And let's see if he'll, and then I've got an active leg, and I showed you that on the first video. So he knows that when I'm just bumping him with my legs, that just means keep moving. See my legs just gently bumping him? And I'm exaggerating it just a little bit for the video so you can see it. So when I come up here and stop, let's see if he'll stop, take my legs off. And he stopped, okay? That taking your legs off, I have found if you don't use an active leg when you're riding your horse, especially if you ride your horse like this, your horse won't get it, okay? Because you basically, if you ride your horse in what I call the recliner position, you're not gonna be able to use your legs to guide your horse because that's the stop position. You've got to ride your horse in leg position 2 with an active leg, okay? Now, squeeze to go forward. And then the same thing to speed up. So I have an active leg. When I squeeze, I had to back that up with a cluck. He didn't quite get it. Usually they'll get it. Usually they'll know the difference between you just gently bumping them and then squeezing. All right? Then I'll come in here and stop. Oh. Good. And he stopped just off me taking my feet off of him. Now let's do a turn. So I'm going to do a turn on the 4/4, which means I want him to keep his front feet still and move his hind end around. Okay. So I'm going to stop his motion with the bit, push my left leg back to leg position 3, push with my calf, and he's doing it not very well. I'm going to add my spur because I don't like what I'm getting there. There, that's better. That's better. A little more. A little more. Okay, and you might notice I have taken the back cinch off of this saddle. And I did that a couple of weeks ago because I was not satisfied with this hindquarters yield, and I have a tendency to spur the back cinch, and so that's my fault. I'm not cueing the horse very well. Eventually I'll put it back on, but that's the reason I took it off, to make sure that that cue right there, push, is very clear to him. Okay, now I'll push his shoulder. Now getting them to move their shoulder is harder. That I could do on the first ride. If you go back and watch first ride, you'll see that. Getting the horse to move his shoulder is more difficult. So let me show you how I do it the first time. What I'll do is, and I'll do this usually second or third ride, I'll bring the horse up into the fence like this at about a 45-degree angle. Okay, right here, like that. I'll stop the horse. I'll let the fence stop the horse. Horse is standing right there. So I'm I want him to go to my right. He's reducing the angle as I'm standing here, okay? Then I'll take this leg, tip his nose, and you can do this with a halter or, you know, whatever you happen to be riding the horse with. Tip his nose, push, and he'll do it now off the push. The first time he didn't. And so if he didn't move, you can watch my leg. If I pushed and he didn't move, then I'd start bumping him like this on his shoulder, like that, until he moved. And then as soon as I got the first slightest little movement of his shoulder, then I would quit and come back and do it again. So that's how I start teaching that shoulder movement. And then as time goes on, I should be able to just do this. Push, and he should just move his shoulder. And I should be able to do it while I'm walking. So I'm going to walk towards you, push with my right foot. He should turn left, leg position 1. See, he's moving his shoulder. So it took him, I don't know, by about 15, 20 rides, he was doing that fairly well. Some horses will learn it faster than that. All right, now the side pass. And he'll side pass better from the saddle than he did from the ground. So just ride him up, put his nose on the fence. I'm going to side pass him away from you. So I'm going to take my outside leg off, and you can't see that, but you can see it on the first video. Put in leg position 2, I'm going to push here. And if he didn't move, so I'm going to push a little harder. He actually moved into my leg. Push, there, finally got it. Okay, push, release. Push, release. Push, there, got it. Okay, now I'll come back around and come toward you. So this left leg will be off. Push. Okay, doing a little better coming that way. And most horses are better going one way or the other. Put his nose on the fence, push with my left leg. Bump, because he's not moving very well. There we go. Okay, so you can see he does it better under saddle than he did on the ground. Doesn't bother him as much. Then take my legs off. Okay, you have to have this if you're going to open a gate. Okay, in fact, I'll just do it. I'll just open this gate. And Silver's not real good at it yet, but he's starting to learn it. So I'll bring him up here to the gate. When you get all these elements together, when you can ride your horse forward, stop him, back him up, move his shoulders, move his hips, then you can open a gate. Okay, so I stopped him. I'm going to take my hands here so I can stop forward motion. Unlatch the gate. He needs to move his shoulder away from the gate, so I'm going to push with my right foot, leg position 1. And then leg position 3 to get him to move his hip over, like that. Okay, and then I need to move his shoulder to my right, so leg position 1 with my left foot, step over there, go through the gate. Stop. Leg position 3, move your hip away, good. Now back up, back up, back up. And you can see he moved away from the gate, so I used my offside leg to move him back to the gate, back up, and then latch the gate. Okay? So that's just one of many reasons you need to learn this. Your horse needs to know these things so that you can move all of his body parts and get your horse to be a broke horse.